And seeing as it's a little bit after 6, we will officially get started. So we are recording this, really just so that we can start to create more of a set idea of how we want to showcase membership. So thank you all for coming today. I'm Becca Snyder. I'm the Executive Director of Executive Alliance, and I am now going to share my screen. But since this is a collegial and small group, don't be shy about jumping in and asking questions as we go. So with no further ado, let's see, I've got my slide presentation going on. Can all of you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Terrific. Yeah. You're here and make the most of membership. And so I just want to double check. Of course, Lisa, you're an old hand at membering since you're our president this year. And Chris is considering membership. And so I just want to make sure that we've all introduced ourselves so I know how to kind of couch where we are. So would you like to introduce, Chris, do you want to introduce yourself and we'll just go down the line?
Sure. I'm Chris Holland, and I'm the Executive Director at the B&O Railroad Museum.
Terrific. And Katie?
Yeah, hi, Kate. I just realized I had to grab my husband's computer because I left mine at home. So sorry about the name. Katie Alston, I'm Executive Director of Marion House in Baltimore, and I am just, I think, technically signing on to my second year. But because COVID has been a large portion of the first year, I don't feel like, and I don't believe I was ever able to attend an orientation session either. I think the scheduling was such that I couldn't attend. So I still don't feel like I have my brain wrapped around membership. So I thought this is perfect. So.
Yeah, great. And then Lisa, you want to introduce yourself?
So I'm Lisa Hayes. I am president of Executive Alliance. I'm also a wealth strategist with PNC Wealth Management. And I've been a member for about 8 years now, and did a lot, to be honest, on the mentoring side of things. But I wanted to see how this goes, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Terrific. So, oops, hang on, let me make sure that I've got my, there we go. Sorry, I have 2 screens and sometimes things don't always advance the way you think they're going to advance. So welcome to Executive Alliance. I think you all know a little about us. We've just launched a new website, so you can see that at executivealliance.org. And when we think about Executive Alliance, which is a membership organization slated for executive women across the state of Maryland, sometimes you think, okay, in the big scheme of things, aren't women doing okay these days? Don't we have a vice president about to take office? Aren't there opportunities? And really, when you think about it, of course, women are critical in the workforce, but we're also showing just intense pressures. So right now, we are seeing an environment where the diversity of women at the highest levels, the diversity of leadership at the highest levels of organization is still very much male, very much white. And one of the ways that Executive Alliance really looks to sort of monitor change is the number of women sitting in boards of directors seats, certainly in Maryland, but of course across the country as well. And so these are just a couple news clips that I pulled to really kind of show what's happening for women right now. So COVID, as we all know, has been an incredibly stressful time for so many of us, but really it's causing many women to leave the workforce completely. They can't handle the pressures of child, and it's not them that can't handle it, it's the environment that we're finding ourselves in, that women are still doing most of the work at home, and so they're taking care of children, they're trying to take care of their jobs, and it's just not working. So right now, NPR reported in October, women are leaving the workforce at 4 times the rate of men. So that's going to create this huge gap in the workplace. If women are leaving now, that means they're not there to go into positions of authority and leadership later on. It's a demonstrated fact that women and people of color and when we look at diversity, all those different perspectives at the board table and at the highest levels of leadership in companies create stronger organizations. So it leads to better decision making. Women are critical to that, but we're leaving the workforce. And also, when we think about how women function in organizations, having larger percentages of women in an organization leads to greater job satisfaction and more employee engagement, no matter the gender. So women have a critical role to play, and Executive Alliance really helps further that. We don't focus on just one sector, one company. We're for all executive women across the state. So a little bit more about us, since this is Make the Most of Membership, we'll brag just a little bit. And Executive Alliance partners with women. So we are a vibrant statewide organization, and we have a laser-like sustained focus on the needs of executive women. So we work on action-oriented programming and initiatives. So you may hear us talk about gender diversity in the boardrooms. That was a bill that passed the Maryland State Legislature in 2019, and we will get the first reporting on that the first quarter in 2021. So it was a reporting bill that will require companies to disclose how many women sit on their board. And Executive Alliance has been in our world since 1993, so nearly 30 years, and we've really nurtured generations of powerful women leaders. And so that gravitas and lengthy history really means that we are authoritative and well respected. And of course, we have established and successful programming, and we'll get into our mentoring program in a minute, as well as our renowned Women of Excellence Luncheon and our Women Board Directors Census Report, which is going to come out next week. Finally, when we talk about Executive Alliance, really you are creating meaningful connections with powerful women across Maryland. And all that's backed up with national support and research-driven reporting. So we don't just talk about, what we'd like to see happen. We're putting in the time and effort to monitor, to advocate, and to press the issue. We belong to a national organization, a network of organizations like ours called ION. And so we're able to leverage our experience across the nation as well as create a network of powerful women. So that is, in a nutshell, in one slide, Executive Alliance. And I wanted to bring up our three main pillars. So I believe that Executive Alliance really helps women take their next professional step. So that could be sitting on a board. It could be gaining a stronger network, a deep bench of women who have your back. And we do that through advocacy, education, and mentorship. So our mission is to accelerate the success and leadership of accomplished women. And we do that by expanding our impact and the influence through advocacy, education, and mentoring. And that sort of long-range vision is to be the catalyst and authority on issues affecting women in leadership in Maryland. So we are the go-to. We are the authority. And that's something that you really can't get anywhere else. So let's drill down a little bit and talk about how we do that. When we look at advocacy, I've talked a little bit about that gender diversity in the boardroom bill, and that was a collaborative effort to get that across the finish line. And it really goes hand in hand with our annual census report. So not to let the cat out of the bag on our census report, which will be released at our Where Are the Women Leading Change in Maryland roundtable event next Tuesday. But what we find is that women directors of boards of publicly traded companies in Maryland, number of women who sit on those boards lags far behind what we're seeing at the S&P 500. And even more troubling is that women of color also, the numbers are dismal. They are actually going down, and they also lag behind the S&P 500. So we have work to do. We have scrappy grassroots advocacy work to do to allow women to take their place in Maryland leadership. So we very specifically advocate for our members for board opportunities. So you may know or have seen that we will send out board opportunities where we're actually matching with specific members, or if you have questions or concerns. Right now, we have a board opportunity for a private security company. We also are focusing on the Green Bag Initiative, which is placement of women on public boards and commissions in the state of Maryland. So we'll have, for instance, and this kind of leads right into the education pillar of what we do. It's not enough just to say this is what we want. We have to help women prepare to take the next step to get into those roles. So I don't know if we've been working on our Board Ready Boot Camp, and hopefully some of you have seen opportunities like that, where we have executives in a partnership with Stanton Chase who will actually walk through the process of creating your board bio, recommend areas of development, so you truly can take advantage. When you see a corporate board opportunity, you need to be able to jump on it quickly. So it's not sit around and think, should I do this? Should I not? You want to have all your materials prepared. Executive Alliance is there to help you do that. We also, coming up in the beginning of January, we will have a terrific presentation from the appointments office at the Maryland State House to talk about Maryland public boards and commissions, talk about the opportunities and seats available, and also help us navigate the kind of Byzantine application that you have to put forward. So at every step, we're really trying to amplify our membership so that they can take advantage of these roles. In terms of education, we're also realizing and know that we all need professional development. Like, we're never a finished product. We all are continuously developing and working through things to get to our next opportunity. So throughout this year, we've partnered with Turo Advisory to do our LinkedIn Mastery series. So this is an organization that provides really hands-on, like specific modules and hands-on live coaching in a group setting to show you how to take charge of LinkedIn. And so many of us, we have our LinkedIn profile, sort of sits there. We don't do much with it, but we really need to look at activating our networks and using it truly as a professional tool. So programs like this step our membership through. It is a member-only benefit, how to actually do that with your profile. We also, in the new beginning in January, we're launching our Retool and Reframe series. And this is just one of the webinar series that we'll have throughout the year. But Retool and Reframe is really focusing on us as women, as developing both personally and professionally. So we'll start out with Mary Jean Heron discussing self-assessments and what you can learn and get out of self-assessments. We'll touch on topics like emotional intelligence and values-based leadership. So these are some of the wraparound educational opportunities that will enhance what you're doing professionally, but also hopefully help support you personally. And that kind of leads into mentorship. So Executive Alliance runs a transformational mentoring program every year. We have a cohort of 10 to 14 women mid-career that dives deep and really looks at particular issues and topics, again, to help them grow professionally. And one of the ways we do this is many of our members act as mentors to that program. And I think that's a really powerful way to pay it forward, but also to keep in perspective the challenges of women that are coming behind. Executive Alliance really focuses on that executive level of leader. And the mentoring program is a hand to mid-level women to bring them the transformational experience that's going to perhaps change their career trajectory, elucidate their values in terms of their professional development, and really move them forward. So all of these pillars really boil down to Executive Alliance seeks to move women forward, and we do that through meaningful connections and visible leadership. Now, I want to check in. Do you guys have questions or things that you'd like to elucidate further or bring up at this point?
I guess I would have two questions for you. I'm curious as to how many board opportunities you help fill each year. And then I'm also curious as to sort of the interaction that women have with each other through the Executive Alliance. Like, is it more of a professional, like, as you said, for education and you meet people there, or, you know, is there, you know, more of a social connection as well?
No, those are great questions because, you know, I think that this is, and it kind of gets into our next slide in deep connections. Because to your board opportunity question, that's one of my big goals this year, is to have an instant stream of board opportunities, because we want to not only be a source of, when we're the authoritative leader of what executive women are doing in Maryland, we need to be a resource to companies who are looking to diversify, who are trying to expand their own networks. So we'll be doing some specific reach outs on that. But we do have, you know, maybe Lisa can speak to it more directly, but in my month here, probably 3 or 4 have come over the transom, and we will be acting as more of a funnel for those in the future. Lisa,
So,
did you want to?
yes, can you guys hear me? All right.
Yeah. Yep.
This computer sometimes is a little funny. Okay. The organization was created with, you know, like about 12 women to really get on boards. And over time, I think, you know, we have people on boards, but then that has shifted some. But a lot of our board connections actually come through ION. So we're part of this professional organization called ION with organizations around the country. And any organization that gets opportunities and sends it to ION. So we will get opportunities for places all around the country. And they usually, you know, and it gives some idea of what they're looking for. And if you're interested, you can submit your resume. It would be honest with you that I think Executive Alliance had sort of drifted away from getting people on boards to some extent. And one of the things that we're doing now is focusing more on that main core area. Getting the gender diversity bill passed was a big part of that. That is going to open up, we feel, a lot of opportunities. We are going to be hearing from local Maryland companies that don't have to put women on their boards, but are going to have to report that they don't have women. And the hope is that, you know, there will be more of an interest in getting women on boards. I think the fact that NASDAQ is now proposing that every organization that they deal with has a woman on a board, or a diversity, or a woman, or a person of diversity, is also going to be more pressure on these companies to open things up. The other thing is, we realized that there was no way we could do it all, and there are more organizations out there now. So we are connecting with other organizations that provide training services. So there's, in fact, out of North Carolina, for example, there's a good organization that does several training programs. And so rather than us trying to put together a training program, we're going to take advantage of what's already out there and connect people with that. But a big thing is working with people on their board ready resume, which is different from the kind of resume you would use for a company. So I think if that's something that you were particularly interested in, Chris, I would connect you. I would probably, if you wanted to, we could connect you with two people that are, very focused in that area. One is the head of one of the co-chairs of our Women on Boards committee, and then the other is, and that's Lynn Tayson in Stanton Chase, and then the other is Lynn Durbin, who has been one of the stalwarts of our getting women on boards, and she is actually the what they call convener of ION right now. So, I would suggest we could connect you with them if you were interested in talking to them before making a decision. Regarding us getting together, obviously this year has thrown things a little bit. We would have meetings. We have member meetings. They have varied from almost monthly to, quarterly. It sort of varies. A lot of times they've evolved depending on what people want. So when I started, it was a lot of lunches and dinners. There's always a social hour beforehand. There are, we are now doing, right now we're doing coffees. We were doing actually coffees beforehand, and we were meeting at a coffee shop and doing breakfast. Now we're doing it virtually. But there is a big aspect of it that is social. The idea is that, and I'll tell you what attracted me to the organization is I was an attorney, banker, and estate planner. So most of the groups I was dealing with were people in that area, in those fields. And I found somebody started another group, Women in Insurance and Financial Services, and invited me to join it. But I found that, most of the women were actually competitors to what I was doing. So there was no business development there. And it was far away. And for me, it was a long drive. And so, somebody said, why don't you come to go to WE and come to Executive Alliance? And what I really liked about it is that it is a very diverse group of women. And they're of all levels. And the events take place in different places, so it wasn't all up in Hunt Valley, which was a long drive for me. And I just felt, I felt like I was learning from people. I got involved with mentoring right away. I had planned to do something else, but they signed me up for mentoring, and I became a mentor, and that actually was a lot of fun. I learned because within the different committees, and we encourage people to get involved in committees, and within the committees, then you really are getting closer to people. So whether it's, helping to put on an event or it's mentoring, with mentoring, we were getting together with our mentees, and then they were doing some social events. And then the mentees are really amazing women. And so, and through that, I really also saw the impact we were having. I mean, at the end of the year, these women talk about what they got out of the experience. And it's, sometimes you're just like, oh my gosh, are you serious? We did that for you. It's hard to believe, but we helped them through changes in their life. And some of those women have become our members now. They've reached the point where they can do that. So, I think great organization.
It really, thank you, Lisa, for that. I think that firsthand experience is so important to hear. Executive Alliance is a group of women that have each other's backs. And I like to think of, it's a collegial group that you can say, I need to know about this area, or I want to learn more about this thing. And there most likely will be an Executive Alliance member who is an expert, who knows someone willing to connect you. So I wouldn't say that this is not a business development group necessarily. But certainly you are fostering very strong relationships with influential women leaders, and this is, when in speaking to members, I hear a lot about I wanted to be associated with this caliber of woman. And there's a lot to that, you sort of play up to the company that you keep. So the way we foster those relationships does change in the time of COVID. And I believe really strongly in meeting members where they are. So we will, even in the non-COVID times, I would like to see us have a mix of virtual and in-person events and at different times and different places, because we all have different needs. So right now, we do have member meetings, we have social events. We've just started our first Friday lunch with Executive Alliance, which is a casual lunch every first Friday that's anchored by a different member each month. So it's a way for people to get to know one another, where we're not, strictly talking about, this one topic, but it's a way for us to create connections. At our first one, which was just December 4th, conversation kind of lit, and I had members follow up to be like, oh, I didn't know you before. I'd like to learn more about what you do. And it was a great sort of organic connection, and I'd like to foster that more and more. So we also, as I said, we have that national network to find out what people in other areas of the country are doing. And I think one of the most valuable things about Executive Alliance is that the organization, the women here, want to celebrate other women. So this is certainly a situation where, we're seeing members' accomplishments showcased on our Executive Alliance LinkedIn page. We send out a weekly planner email every week where we're celebrating that. For instance, Dragos, who we have Joyce, Tina Coons is in that organization. They just celebrated one of the highest venture capital rounds in the state of Maryland. That's totally in our weekly planner, because we want to amplify what our members are doing and what they bring to the table. And then, of course, I think our biggest celebration of the year is the Women of Excellence. Of course, COVID times mean that we have to reframe and rethink that. But I think that exemplifies just the way we want women to connect and come and support other women. So I think that's really important. Did that kind of get at your question, Chris?
Yes, it did. That was great. Thank you to both of you.
I want to say, Rebecca, I cannot believe you've only been there a month. Right, Lisa? It's like,
Definitely jumped in, both feet running.
yeah. And, I think from my perspective, just to throw it out there, I'm also from a nonprofit, and Chris, I'm Sager, obviously from the B&O. So there's always been that question of like, how can I fit in? And, I think part of the difficult thing has been that COVID has happened. And so there hasn't been some of the same opportunities. I feel like I could join a committee, and I assume we'll probably talk about what the committees are. I feel like that's the thing I have trouble wrapping my brain around. I'm very big on, if I join something, I want to like meet the expectations of the commitment that I have made to join the group. And so I'm still not even entirely clear, like, can I be a part of Executive Alliance that isn't overly active in a committee, if things are going on in my life that don't allow it, because right now I am running a congregate living facility / shelter for homeless women during COVID. And so like, I have to tell you, I want to do that LinkedIn mastery so bad, but Monday morning, like, no way, like it's not going to happen. Like Monday morning is the check-in with the team. Is anyone sick in any of our shelter facilities? And I'm balancing wanting this to be meaningful for me, wanting to give also to the organization itself. I want to be a meaningful and invested member, and it's not normal time. So yeah, that's kind of my.
Well, I think, and that's, we're all kind of stuck in that catch-22, like wanting to live up to our own expectations as well as find room for everything. And so what I would say is that it's important certainly to me, and I think the organization, that we do meet members where they are and offer an opportunity for you to be as engaged as you want to be. Specifically about the LinkedIn Mastery Program, which I do think is a fabulous program. It's the live group coaching that's on Mondays, but the modules of walking through your LinkedIn profile are self-paced. So there's two components to that program. And I would also urge, we're doing a session with Colleen McKenna, who's the architect of that program, at noon tomorrow, where she's just going to jumpstart with LinkedIn, just kind of catch us all up. Because I talk to a lot of people who feel like, oh my gosh, I missed the first one and I can never catch up. Those live sessions are sort of standalone sessions. If you have a question, if you have, like something you want to ask, you just jump on and ask. And they are recorded. So Monday's not a great day for many of us, but you can pour it in and pour it out, and it's self-paced.
Yeah, I think there's always that question of how to, there's a little bit of the question of how to find that out too, I suppose. Like, I get emails, but that's
yeah.
Well, so Katie, the LinkedIn thing, we just kicked that off sort of this summer or this fall. And we realized, personally, I realized that I didn't have, even though I had been helping to bring it on and do it, I realized once it got started, I didn't have a good understanding of all the components and how they interconnected. And we ended up having a call with her. And then I understood, the emails that I was getting about the different sessions, that the fact that I couldn't see one that day wasn't a problem. I can go back in and I need to do them in the order. And I actually have done the first one, and there's, some things that you can work on. So you can just listen to it and then you can work on them later, or you can do the whole thing at one time. And then Rebecca said the Monday calls, I often have conflicts on Monday at 11:30. But I have listened to one or two of them. And actually, other thing that surprised me with that is, you sort of think of LinkedIn as, oh, that's what I'm going to do when I'm trying to get a job or get noticed out there. Well, there a lot of what she's using it for is just really business. It's business development. It's promoting yourself. It's, it's not necessarily, I'm later in my career, but I'm come to realize.
Well, that's why I know that I could use it. And forgive me, I'm home, and when I got home, my husband had to leave. So I'm starting to make dinner, and now the dog has to go out. So I apologize that I am also, we're a small group, right? I can be honest about what's happening right here. And I got to put the collar on the dog before anyway.
Just go for it. That's fine.
My husband's
home. So,
sorry, go ahead.
And so I do think there's certainly, I want to reemphasize, how people can kind of jump into those programs without feeling like the stress and like oh, I've missed one, I can't do it all. So, this slide is really about membership criteria. If you want to read this fully, feel free to follow the link. Essentially, we're open to executive women. You do have to demonstrate some executive experience. There are criteria based on field, and all that's listed on our website. So feel free to check it out. Ask me questions if you need it. And then I guess, Chris, and for everyone, this is the membership process that someone goes through, is that it all starts with that application. The membership committee does review it and approves a potential member. And then that application is reviewed and approved by the board of directors. And they do vote on all members. And then, of course, we want to celebrate that you're a part of the group, and they'll reach out for onboarding. And we do, the membership committee does set you up with a member buddy so that you can have kind of like the navigator through the organization. We do offer corporate members and partnerships. So, if you have questions about that, I'm happy to chat through. But the next step after you go through is to really get engaged. And our officers here, we do have, I think one of the most fabulous things about Executive Alliance is the commitment of its membership to the organization. It's a very active membership. And, and I think our officers kind of exemplify that sort of broad spectrum of, we've got diverse fields, we've got banking, nonprofit, law, construction, healthcare, insurance. That's a huge diversity of fields that you don't get in many other organizations. And so this kind of typifies just organically what you get out of membership. And now I want to talk a little bit about committees, because really that's where the work of the organization happens. Like, yes, I'm the executive director, but I kind of just reflect and organize what the organization and what the membership wants to do. So, and some of our committees, actually, I see I don't have governance on here. They do shift every once in a while. But they are open. We want members to be engaged. Committee work is a great way to do that. And when you, and we can kind of fit in however you want to engage. So like, for instance, I was talking to a member today who is an accountant and specializes in services for entrepreneurial women. And her life has been really busy lately. So she hasn't been as engaged as she wanted to be, but she went through our mentoring program and blew me away with some of her experiences. So she could very easily sit on a round table and share her expertise about the mentoring program, or do a one-off session for our members about the different hats that entrepreneurs can wear and the challenges for female entrepreneurs. So whatever way you want to give back to the organization, I will find a way to help you do it in a non-pressure loving way. So don't worry. But our committees, just kind of running down it, we have the finance committee, mentoring. So that really goes hand in hand with developing that program. Membership is all about recruiting and maintaining members. The nominating committee, I think, Lisa, I feel like nominating committee has fallen by the wayside for a little bit. Oh, and actually, I can't hear you.
Governance. Hang on. Yeah, you should.
Oh, nominating has turned into governance. I'm sorry. I was reusing an old slide. So governance, one of our themes this year is really trying to get our organizational structure running really smoothly. Partnerships is a big area for us where we're actively reaching out and looking for organizations and companies to partner with to fulfill our mission. And women on boards is a huge, obviously it's a big issue area for us. And that's a very active committee that's doing things like our Board Ready Boot Camp. That's where our census report comes from. And then programs and events. So I would urge you to think about how you'd like to engage, what you really want to get out of the organization, and I can help navigate to find the right slot for you. Lisa, you probably do you have any perspective that you wanted to add on committees since you're here?
Well, I think what you said about figuring out what it is you're interested in doing, that's a big, if you're not sure what committee, but you want to, your interests are either in this or as Rebecca said, what you would like to get out of it. Maybe understanding how often they meet or how they meet. So, mentoring is more of an opportunity to see people in, a little bit of a social setting because you'll get together as a group. Some of the others are more, they just have meetings. I think some people get very involved in women on boards because that's really what they want to be focused on, is the getting on a board and the aspects of that. So it really just depends. If you're great at, going to ask for money and promoting us, partnerships is a wonderful committee. I would say programs and events is something that we've had a women on boards, Women of Excellence Luncheon Committee for years. We didn't do that luncheon this year because of COVID. We're not sure we're going to be able to do it to the extent we have in the past next year either, but we definitely want to do some sort of a larger event next year. We just still need to figure out how that's going to be. but we want to put together a program committee that's going to tackle that. Also, looking at perhaps we do another program. And the other thing is, after years of doing Women of Excellence in a certain way, we have talked about trying to make some changes to it. And yet it was hard to, pull the trigger and shift it. All of our members had to buy tickets to it. That was part of their dues. But that, which meant that you had a lot of people that were going to attend, but it also meant that most of the people buying tables were buying them at a discount. So, it was never much of a fundraiser. And I think, to me, one of the silver linings of COVID is it gives us an opportunity to reassess how we do it. We definitely want to do it again, but maybe there's a better way. We've shifted our organization, we've shifted our dues so that people are just paying the dues part. They're not paying for a table this year. I think we'll probably continue that. But is there a better way of handling the table? And do we want to shift in how we do executive Women of Excellence? We've done it for, I think, 25 years. So I'm sort of excited about that. So to me, that committee offers an opportunity to be creative if somebody has interest in that area. But I would definitely encourage you to get involved. It's like any other organization. If you're on a committee, you're meeting it connects you with some of the other members. And the people that, have just joined and then have really not gotten engaged at all, to be honest, they only last about a year or so, and then they, fade away.
Committee work is not.
Yeah, it needs to be an organization. I mean, we would love to have more women as members. We'd love to have, Chris, love to have you as a member, but it needs to work for you. Everyone needs to find what's the right thing for them. And for some people, this isn't the right organization, and we understand that. So, we're not trying to force anybody into it, but we think it has a lot to offer, and particularly if you get engaged.
Yeah. And so, if committee work is not your jam, come to programs. And we really want to have enough robust programming that that you kind of can find what fits for you. Any questions on committees or anything we've covered? Because I know we're at 6:45, and I wanted just to make sure you knew that new member resources. So at membership, you'll get our handbook, the roster of members, which actually is on our website. We've got a fancy member portal where you have things like the member directory. That's where where all your kind of behind the scenes benefits are. Obviously, the census report of women directors in Maryland is pretty critical. And you can always reach out to me if you need anything or have questions. I may not always know the answer, but I'm happy to get those answers for you. And finally, I would just urge you to connect with us. So our weekly planner is open to everyone, so you don't have to be a member to subscribe to that. We do have non-member access to some events. If you could sort of talk more about membership, anyone on the membership committee will certainly shepherd you through the process. And if you'd like to try out some of our events to say, hey, I'd like to come to this, very often they will invite you as their guest. I would also urge you to follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. And I'm happy to connect you with one of our members, so you can really understand. Well, okay, this is what it's like. This is what we are focused on doing. But I think it's just important to, wherever you decide to go, that you take that first step. I mean, we're all in an environment where we're kind of the captain of our own ship. We have to consciously decide how we want to navigate our professional development and our professional world. And Executive Alliance offers a wonderful opportunity to connect with other executive women in a wide range of fields throughout the state of Maryland for really specific goals to move us all forward. But I would urge you, at whatever capacity you can do, that you start to steer your own ship. And we're a wonderful way to do it. And I hope to welcome you as a member, or get to know you as a member a little bit more. And that, I think,
and Katie,
gets us out at
I just wanted to address one of Katie's comments, and this may be helpful for you too, Chris, that, everyone in the organization is, as a working woman, really busy. A lot of people, not me, but are running their own companies or their own organizations like you two are. I think if you're on any committee or activity, everyone gets that. So when there's a committee meeting and, something comes up and you say, I can't participate, nobody's going to be calling you out for it. And
What if you're not on a committee though, Lisa? I mean, I'm not on a committee. I've never been on a committee. And
you on a committee.
I know, right? So is there a thought too? I mean, I think I've had a little bit of a thought that because I'm involved in a nonprofit of my own, like I feel conflicted to be involved in, say, the fundraiser, which of course is not happening right now, but like there are some, I don't think of myself as as corporate board material. So I don't know that I should be on, women on board. So it's sort of, where do we, as a nonprofit person, where would you see us fitting?
Well, you could be you could be connected with the boards. I think mentoring is a great organization if you're doing something like that. Now, Katie, you may feel like you're mentoring so many women at Marian House that, you don't need another woman. That might be more fit for Chris. But, other things, one of the co-chairs of our governance committee is a fairly new member, Tasha, and she's runs a nonprofit down in Washington. And, and part of the reason she started getting involved more with governance with her own organization, and she really liked it. And so she joined the governance committee. And when Ann Quinn stepped down, we made her the co-chair. So I really think any of those, I can understand the fundraising part, because that would be hard for you, I think, for both of you, but I think any of the other ones you can, because you'd be surprised your skill level from being a CEO at your own organization. I mean, it's amazing what you guys are doing. So
thank you. And you've helped convince me to join. So maybe in the end, it's Rebecca, figure out where you need me. We can have a chat. And as you said, if you're willing to, I just want to be as useful as I can be.
Okay.
And I think that might be part of my, I'm kind of running from here to there, and you're absolutely right, Lisa. I'm certainly not the only one. But I am the kind of person who, when you commit to joining something, I want to make sure I'm meeting my commitment.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think like programming really helpful. I think your expertise in sort of programming, or maybe if you are seeing a need that you have an expertise that you'd like to share with other members, those are very like capsulized things that you can do that aren't ongoing commitments. I think we need a mix, because sometimes people's lives are not set up to be able to do, a monthly commitment that's ongoing. But you can do, like I can devote, a couple sessions at this part of the year kind of thing. So there's all sorts of ways to get involved. So I'll follow up and touch base with you.
Thank you.
But at this point, do you guys have any other questions or anything you'd like to bring up?
No, I think this was really helpful. It sounds great, and I really appreciated both of your perspectives. And and I've always been involved with women's organizations, so I think this is a very good fit. So I appreciate it. I do have to sign off now, so I don't have any other questions. But I thought your profile and the overview was very helpful.
Oh, good. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you all coming at 6 p.m. and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you, Rebecca.
Chris, good to see you, Katie.
Good to see you, Lisa. Thank you, ladies.
Bye.